Revelator aggregator. If y'all really want to know, and I've said this before, if y'all really want to know how them Illuminized boys manage the world with compromised bureaucrats and politicians, you really ought to check out Robert Caro's books, his biographies. I mean, Caro has to be in on the joke because his books on Lyndon Johnson, the years of Lyndon Johnson, are extremely revealing of the method. You know how Lyndon Johnson made his millions? Yeah, millions. He was a millionaire. I had no idea old boy was a millionaire, and I don't think the American people were aware he was a millionaire when he was president. I'm driving now, y'all, so apologies for the background noise. But back to Lyndon Johnson's money. The second book in the years of Lyndon Johnson, Means of Ascent, breaks it all down. Make a long story short, Lyndon's dad was a Texas state senator who ended up losing it all or losing a lot of money just on trying to make a stupid ranch work in the Texas hill country. Many of Lyndon's formative years were spent in poverty. Lyndon always dated women who came from money, and there was even a joke in his college yearbook about it. He ended up marrying Lady Bird, whose daddy was rich, and she had an inheritance. She got an inheritance. When Lyndon Johnson was in Congress in the 40s, there was a radio station, I believe it was in Austin. It was a sundowner radio station, which meant its license only allowed it to operate during the daytime. The real valuable ad revenue airtime was at night, of course, and this radio station was also at the kind of the weak end of the dial, or the crowded end of the dial, rather. So it was an unvaluable, unfavorable piece of radio real estate, essentially. The people that owned it had been trying to change all this for years and had been lobbying the FCC for a new license and a new frequency or whatever, and they'd been just throwing up brick walls and not allowing them to do it. They'd been even trying to get a sale approved, and the FCC wouldn't let them approve a sale, wouldn't approve a sale for them, so they were just stuck with this failing, unprofitable radio station. Along comes Congressman Lyndon Johnson with his homeboys at the FCC and starts white knighting for the FCC in Congress. And before you know it, shazam! The FCC approves that sale lickety-split to Claudia Alta Taylor Lady Bird Johnson. The sale was for a song, too. It was for real cheap. I mean, comparatively. Because these people the prior owners had been stonewalled by the FCC for years and were just desperate to get rid of it. Well, then shortly thereafter, they get approval. Lady Bird and Lyndon and all them get approval for a new license and a new frequency and a new place on the dial. And they get to operate 24 hours instead of just the daytime. And then along comes a Hoogie Boogie CBS or NBC affiliate arrangement rather, and now this really unvaluable piece of real estate property that they'd gotten for a song is worth a whole lot more. It's an interesting conundrum. Y'all think the prior owners would have sold it for so cheap if they'd have known what it could be worth once all the approvals had gone through and the wheels had been greased by Lyndon Johnson? Probably not. But over the years, they parlayed that single radio station into a media empire with multiple radio stations, TV stations, etc. And it's mighty funny that that's the industry that Illuminized boy LBJ decided to get into, the mind control media infotainment complex. But how he made his money was brilliant. And also, as an aside, since Lady Bird bought it with her inheritance under community property laws, Lyndon could say, well, that's Lady Bird's station, I don't own it. But what community property laws allow is the spouse of the person who owns the asset, they get the profits, a 50-50 share of the profits from the asset. But the way Lyndon made his money was he sold airtime. And what he did was he would sell it to people that weren't even in the advertising market in Austin and the surrounding areas. They were people that needed political favors done in Washington by Congressman Lyndon Johnson or Senator Lyndon Johnson, or I reckon even President Lyndon Johnson. So buying airtime on Lyndon Johnson's radio stations was a way to buy Lyndon Johnson's influence. So he basically got rich by selling his political office via his radio station and media interests. Also, fun aside, the outfit that funded Lyndon Johnson for most of his political career was Brown and Root, which became Halliburton. Hoogie Boogie Dick Cheney Halliburton. I hope you all enjoyed part one of what I hope will become a multi-part series, which will be essentially Cliff's Notes on the Years of Lyndon Johnson by Robert Caro. Let me throw this out there. I've meant for this all to be fair use. That's the shield I'm standing behind. I'm a big fan of Robert Caro. I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to encroach upon any of his intellectual property. And a word about Mr. Caro and why I think he's in on the joke. He don't say word one about Lyndon being an Illuminized boy. He plays it straight, but his books are very deeply researched and he drops all kinds of breadcrumbs. So tune in next time for my interpretation of the final book so far of the Years of Lyndon Johnson, The Passage of Power, and why I think that between the lines, Mr. Robert Caro is trying to tell us that the JFK assassination was one big giant hoogie boogie humiliation ritual for Lyndon Johnson and one big giant hoogie boogie death for success ritual for JFK. And again, he doesn't say that at all, but that's what I took away from it, because y'all know me. Father God bless you all. Jesus Christ saves, and stay positive.